in Tippin, and it's time to talk with Adam Murphy. First time on the show, and the first time, I reckon, seeking public office. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Thanks for having me.
All right, Adam, you were telling me you're down the other side of Roanoke. So, ever run for public office before?
Never. This is my first time seeking any public office.
So, why do it?
Well, I think like what most people should think of when they're going for office, I'm not doing it because I ever saw myself trying to run for office. I'm running because I know what it's like to live in America today. I know how hard it is. I know how expensive it is. I know what it's like to fall through the gaps. My family in 2008 was one of those families that lost our home. And, you know, in our district in Southwest, we really get poor representation, I think. And I just was really tired of the bar being in the ground. And I felt like I could go out to people, I could talk with them, I could reach them, and that it was worth trying to change our future, because we're living in a time where, you know, for the next 30, 40, 50, 60 years, I'm going to be living with this. And I couldn't accept the path that we were on. We were heading for disaster, it felt like to me.
So, what are the people telling you that you're talking with?
What am I hearing?
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing quite a few things. There's probably three main pillars that I would describe that I keep hearing as I go through here. Economic opportunity is a big one. Jobs. You know, as you go out to the coal fields, there was a time when coal country was outproducing Nova in terms of economic output, and they had it good for a while. Now they don't, and they really miss having some of those high-paying skilled jobs. And that's something I'd like to bring back by bringing back the program of Voucher Showcase Southwest Virginia. That's a program that I think was really effective. I'd like to bring that back. The other thing that I'm seeing is that people feel like the cost of living is just insanely high, whether that be housing, healthcare, power or heating, or groceries, and now gas and diesel. I mean, and things are just going up and up and up on people, and it's getting harder and harder to live.
Well, you know, that seems to be a hard problem to solve, because once groceries go up, very seldom do they come back down.
Yeah.
And once taxes go up, very seldom do they come back down. So we're getting hit from all sides. And of course, now if this data center comes in, it's going to cost who knows how much more in my electric bill and water bill.
Yep. In Virginia especially, you know, I know that's a very hot button topic. We were at the Board of Supervisors meeting in December of 2025 together. The reality in Virginia, no matter what they say that they're going to pay for, the SCC here, the State Corporation Commission, legally will only provide 80% of costs paid for by those corporations, which means 20% at the bare minimum will be spread around the community to everybody else. Every other residential customer, every other small business, everybody else will foot that bill. And it is going to raise our costs, whether it be power, heating, water, and it's going to take up a lot of resources to get it done. It's very concerning.
And does not create a lot of jobs.
No, not at all. So my background, I'm a software engineer. I work in tech. And the reality with these data centers, especially the one in Whitfield, perfect example, really, they hire an outside of Southwest Virginia or even outside of Virginia company to construct it. It's a North Carolina company. And then when it gets brought online, they never hire the local populations. They bring out people from somewhere else to work in it, and they're very remote jobs, so they don't necessarily have to have a huge amount of staff. The reality, I think it's a 100-acre data center, right?
99 acres.
Yeah. I think it's only going to produce 25 to 50 permanent jobs, and of that, most of those would be administration and janitorial. Very few actual tech jobs.
And low-paying jobs.
Yes, yeah. And the ones that are high-paying will be most likely remote.
Of course, you know where I stand on. I did not like the way it was done, and kind of rushed into it, and first thing we found out about it was when they'd already broken ground.
I know, wasn't that crazy? They'd already started 3 weeks ago before that Board of Supervisors.
That's right. If you started building me a house and I don't know it till 3 weeks later, you know, that's kind of ominous.
Oh, very ominous. I don't think there should be a county in America where a development can start where the community doesn't understand what's happening, what was bought into it, what the deal was, what was struck. You know, I've often thought that if a public official, a government public official signs an NDA, they're kind of failing to do their job, right? And that whole business, to me, it's a pattern that we're seeing happen throughout all of Southwest Virginia.
Well, you know, this NDA stuff, I was telling you, I served on the IDA here in Whitfield and Wythe County for 12 years. And I always felt like, what are we hiding? If something's coming, that's good jobs, tax revenue they claim. Well, why hide it? And why get it so far past the starting line that you keep telling me you can't stop it? Because, they told me that on a prison. We can't stop it. We've already signed papers. It was stopped eventually.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing. It might end up in a lot of legal consequence, but there's nothing that can't be stopped if local people protest enough.
I agree. And I think that's exactly why they tried to get it as far along as they could before talking about it, because they knew that the community here would say absolutely not.
And it's even more astounding when you find out that the company released it and it wasn't even ready to be released by the county, so they'd been halfway finished by the time we found out about it.
Yeah.
So it's sad.
And that company is a farce. If you Google Solar Arcus or whatever, right? It's like a one-page website that has no information, and it doesn't seem like it exists outside of anywhere outside of Delaware. So it's a shell company that's being used to bring in, Google. It could be bringing in Palantir. It could be bringing in Meta. Who knows what corporation it's ultimately going to be for? But it's a very big concern that the way it's being developed. I think they should have just been very open about it.
Do you think we need to have laws, federal laws that say you can't do this without doing this?
Yes. So that's something that, if elected, that I want to bring to the table at the federal level for these hyperscale AI data centers. I think that there needs to be regulations on those NDAs, that you can't hide from the community the financial requirements that your county got into. And at the same token, there needs to be stringent regulations on bringing the data centers to town where they can be at. The sound, the water, the power infrastructure, they have to pay 100% of cost. None of that cost can be passed on. There needs to be a lot more guidelines around these developments.
I like to see them hire subs to help build it, local ones.
Absolutely.
Sure, you might need a general contractor from Colorado, but you can get guys to build roads and do painting and all kind of things that live right here exist.
Absolutely. And we have groups like Virginia Works and other workforce development tools that will make any training program, education, whatever, if they need a high-skilled tech job for that data center or any tech development or anything really, they can build it out for us. We should be trying to make sure that these big developments, when they come to town, that we're not hiring workers from all over the country because they refuse to hire the local population for whether building or operating.
And a lot of it is on the need to know. I hate to hear that. Yeah. It's a need to know, and you don't have the need to know. That's what they used to tell me when I'd go to a meeting and ask about something,
I think, once upon a time in our country, we had this attitude, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. I think that attitude should be flipped on its head back towards these corporations, because there's no reason that you should be afraid to talk about what you're bringing to our communities if you're bringing something good.
Well, let's talk about something else. The Iranian, they call it a conflict, the war, whatever it is. Where do you stand on that?
Well, so I see it as an illegal war. We shouldn't be in it at any capacity. We shouldn't be acting in that region. We shouldn't have troops built up. We shouldn't be trying to do any of these things. And because of that, we're seeing a huge energy spike. Energy has gone up at the fastest rate it's ever gone up in the history of the stock market and the economy. I mean, gas is diesel's over $6 now, I think, and we're almost at $4 a gallon for just gas. And that still isn't hitting us so much as it's hitting Eastern Asia more than us.
Yeah, because as I understand it, we only get 20% of our oil from Iran.
Yes, and the United States is now one of the largest producers of oil in the world too. So we have the ability to weather it decently, but it's still going to affect us. A lot of our neighbors, Japan, Australia, they rely heavily on that oil, and it's affecting them pretty badly. And as longer this conflict goes on, the worse this shock will start to hit all of us.
Well, they used to say, if the economy is in bad shape, start a war. You ever heard that? Yeah, back in the Vietnam days and all. I've read that in political manuscripts. You got to have a war ever so often that they can get everything pumping. Well, to me, it's just the opposite. It seems like we've gone downhill instead of uphill in industrial work.
I would agree. I don't think that this war was a hey, let's pump our economy, let's do some benefit, let's do some geopolitics. I think it was very much just yet another distraction from things like the Epstein files, from trying to point us to be focused on other assets of what's going on rather than the important things. You know, America's struggling right now. It's hard to live in this country. People are, I mean, the cost of living is the worst it's ever been, and people are getting relatively paid worse than they've ever have. And it's creating a huge burden on all of us. And I think this war is just a way to kind of push our attention away from some of these domestic issues that we're dealing with.
Well, you know, I'm one of them guys. Epstein's dead. A lot of those people involved are dead or maligned or something. I'd rather concentrate on peace, finding peace, a way to settle this, than worry about pictures or stories about what they did. Now, sure, I don't agree with anything you do to abuse a child, but let's get our priorities in order. You know, if we don't have a good, strong economy, we can't help stop abuse of children.
Absolutely.
We can't bring their parents out of poverty and all. So I just think sometimes it's just like there's some TV stations, I won't call their names. If it's an abused dog, they get top billing. If it's an abused woman, toward the end of the newscast.
Yeah.
Now, I find a problem with that.
I agree. Our system should be focused on our people more than anything else, making sure that people are taken care of and making sure that we have opportunities here in Southwest Virginia so people can live that dignified life they want to live right here. And I think that, to me, a big part of the job, if elected, that I would be doing would be, let's make sure that we have job opportunities in all of our counties. Let's bring in some new jobs. Let's make sure Southwest Virginia is tied to the 21st century economy and make sure that we're not leaving anybody behind anymore. Let's not have neglect be the rule of the day.
Right. And so people don't be sending me them nasty letters. I love dogs. You know, my grandson has one. I've had 2 Chihuahuas. So I'm not saying anything against dogs, but I just think sometimes we get priorities in the wrong order. Now, very quickly, Adam, are you going to go door to door once you secure the nomination?
Absolutely. I've already started going door to door. So we've had our first canvass already in Lebanon and Abingdon, where we knocked on 700 doors over the last weekend in March. I'll still be going door to door. I'll be in our communities. I want us to have town halls, which we've had in many of our communities already, where I want people to come out and be able to let me know what their thoughts and feelings on topics are. You know, we're not always going to agree on everything. Mm-hmm. I think that's okay. It's more important that we agree on the goal to make Southwest Virginia the best place to live in the United States.
And I hope we would all agree on that. Now, are you going to know real soon if you've got the nomination, or is that a way off yet?
It's a ways off. So the primary election now, because of the redistricting, has been pushed all the way to August. And no matter the result of redistricting, the primary will be August 4th. So we have 4 more months before we'll have an official candidate on the Democratic side or Republican. I've heard rumors that Klein might run against Griffith here in the 9th. So.
Oh my! I heard that.
So we'll see how that goes.
Okay. And don't want to leave a young lady that's with you out. She's actually from here in town.
Yes.
Tell the folks a little about her. How'd you end up with her running your campaign?
So she joined our campaign as I went to that Board of Supervisors meeting and a few other instances where we've kind of been doing things locally here in Wythe. She said she got inspired by what we were doing, and that's really kind of the gist of this campaign. It's a local campaign of the people, by the people, for the people of Southwest Virginia. I have almost 50 active volunteers and staff who are all across our district trying to make sure that we're actually hearing and understanding the problems in our areas and making sure that we're representing them, not parties or special interests. And it takes people like Sherry joining us, being here, helping us out to make sure we can really target every area and really understand. And because of her, I was able to come out to that Board of Supervisors meeting that it was a data center, helped me know that, brought to my attention. And that's the type of thing that it requires us to actually get representation, right. All of us banding together.
And understand in the future, we'll have her on here to announce running for House of Delegates.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yes, yeah. And she'll be covering, what district is it?
With Smith, Grayson, and portions of Pulaski.
What's the district number?
46.
46. She'll be running for House Delegates 46 here. And so that's local here to Wythe.
I will keep you in tune on that as soon as that happens. Well, Adam, we wish you the best of luck. And thanks for coming in. And thanks for keeping Miss Burris over here straight for at least a few more months.
Thank you for having me, Danny.
All right, come back and see us. Thanks a bunch.
Would love to. Thank you.